Welcome, chosen ones. You've arrived here not by chance, but through a divine orchestration far beyond what the surface of this world can reveal. This moment is part of a deeper journey, one that connects you to something eternal, transcendent, and purposeful. Whether you've felt this calling for years or are just beginning to awaken to it, know that you are here for a reason. You are different. You've always been set apart, and your soul has always yearned for something more, something higher, more profound and divine. Today, we are delving into that truth about you, your unique journey, and the quiet yet powerful transformation that's been unfolding within you. This is a transformation not everyone around you might notice, but you felt its presence deep in your soul. Have you ever reflected on your life and wondered why, as a child, you seemed to carry wisdom far beyond your years? Why you bore an invisible weight that others never seemed to notice? Even as a child, you saw the world through a lens shaped by experience, as if your soul remembered something ancient and sacred. Back then, you couldn't understand it fully, but deep within, you sensed you were different. Perhaps you've struggled with this difference, feeling misunderstood, out of place, even among those closest to you. Maybe you wrestled with loneliness, wondering why you didn't fit into the world's expectations. But let me ask you this, what if those struggles were never a mistake? What if they were a preparation, molding you for something far greater than you could have imagined? This is not just a random experience. It's part of a divine design. In today's video, we'll explore why so many chosen ones like you seem older and more mature in their youth, yet radiate a youthful energy as they grow older. We'll dive into the inner battles you've faced, the chaos that shaped you, the fears and anxieties that once held you back, and we'll uncover how all of it was part of a sacred plan to awaken you to your purpose. You might have felt lost at the beginning. Your identity and sense of self may have shifted, leaving you unsure of who you were or where you were headed. But over time, something began to change. God started to work within you, quieting the storms, calming the chaos, and planting peace deep within your heart. And as that peace grew, it began to shine outward. Now, when you look in the mirror, you see someone transformed. Someone who carries the light of inner strength, the clarity of purpose, and the unmistakable presence of God. You are no longer the person you once were, you are becoming the person God created you to be. This journey is sacred, and this video is here to speak to the heart of that process. Together we'll uncover why your energy, appearance, and spirit seem to defy time as you step closer to your divine purpose. This is not merely about outward change, but a reflection of the profound work God is doing in you. Before we move forward, take a moment to join our community by subscribing to Power Within Awakening. Let us know you're here by commenting 999 below. This simple act symbolizes your readiness to embrace this path fully. And if this message resonates with you, I encourage you to listen to the very end. There's something in this video that might be the confirmation your heart has been waiting for. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. There's always been something extraordinary about you, something undeniable. From the very beginning, you carried a depth that others didn't quite understand. You saw the world with wisdom far beyond your years, but that wisdom often came with struggle. You weren't like your peers. While others seemed carefree, you felt the weight of the world in your heart. You didn't fit the mold the world tried to place on you, and that left you feeling out of place, searching for something you couldn't name. Many chosen ones, just like you, have faced the silent battles of anxiety, fear, or even addiction. You may have tried to fill the emptiness with things that could never truly satisfy the deep longing in your soul. The world around you was always loud, chaotic, and overwhelming. Amid the noise, you were constantly searching, grasping for a sense of stability, a firm footing in a whirlwind of uncertainty. Your identity shifted as quickly as the seasons, One moment, you longed to stand out, to be bold and noticed, craving validation from the world. The next, you wished you could disappear, retreating into the shadows where no one could find you. You felt deeply, too deeply. Emotions that others seemed to brush off or ignore struck you at your core. You bore the weight of these feelings silently, and the intensity of your inner world often isolated you. Friends your age couldn't understand, no matter how you tried to explain. Their laughter and carefree conversations seemed alien to you, as if you were living in a reality they could never perceive. Even your family, those who should have known you best, struggled to grasp the depths of your experience. You were surrounded by people yet felt profoundly alone. This loneliness left its mark on you, not just emotionally but physically. The confusion, the misunderstandings, the inner battles. They etched themselves into your being. It was as though the weight of your soul, far older than your years, revealed itself outwardly. You saw this in the mirror, didn't you? There were moments when you didn't recognize the reflection staring back at you. The tired eyes, the heaviness in your expression. It felt like you had lived lifetimes before you'd even truly begun. You carried awareness that seemed unjust for someone so young. And then there was your body. It didn't feel like home. It was a constant source of discomfort, a reminder of how far you felt from the person you longed to be. Perhaps you neglected it. Not because you didn't care, but because it felt impossible to muster the energy to nurture yourself when your soul felt so heavy. You ate foods that didn't nourish you, either because you didn't know how to care for your body or because, deep down, you felt you didn't deserve that care. You tried to fit in, to mold yourself into something that could be accepted by the world around you. The desire to belong lingered in your heart, even as you knew you were different. You wore clothes that never felt quite right. They clung too tightly in some places, hung too loosely in others, mirroring the way you felt internally. Misplaced, misunderstood, uncomfortable in your own skin. But even during those moments of chaos and doubt, something deeper was stirring within you. There was a call, a quiet, persistent call, to rise above the noise, to step into the person you were always meant to be. God had his hand on you, even then. In those darkest years, when you felt utterly lost, he was guiding you, shaping you through the fires of adversity. The obstacles you faced, the storms you weathered, they weren't meaningless. They were refining you, preparing you for a purpose far greater than you could comprehend at the time. Over time, something began to shift. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, but slowly, steadily, you began to find yourself. You learned to tune out the chaos of the world and instead listen to the still, small voice of God within your soul. That voice reminded you of who you were. Not who the world said you should be, but who you were created to be. You began to see your body not as a burden but as a vessel, a sacred gift entrusted to you. You started to care for it, not out of vanity, but out of respect and gratitude for what God had given you. Nourishment became an act of love, not just with food but with stillness, peace, and self-compassion. The battles within your heart and mind began to fade. The confusion that once clouded your identity slowly gave way to clarity. The anxiety that gripped you, the fears that held you back, they started to lose their power. In their place grew calmness, confidence, and an unshakable sense of self, rooted in the knowledge that you were chosen by God. You stopped searching for external things to fill the void within you. Instead, you allowed God's grace to flow into every empty space. His strength became your strength. His purpose became your purpose. And then something remarkable happened. You began to transform, not just on the inside, but outwardly as well. The face that once carried the stress of trying to meet the world's impossible standards now radiated peace and joy. The body that once felt like a foreign land now moved with grace and confidence. Even your style began to reflect this transformation. No longer an expression of confusion or an attempt to please others, it became simple, authentic, and a reflection of the harmony within you. You no longer dress to fit into the world, but to honor the person you were becoming. The person you were always meant to be. You are no longer hiding behind trends or the expectations of others. The clothes, the facade, the masks you once wore to fit in or escape judgment, they've been replaced by something far more authentic. Now, you wear the unmistakable beauty of someone who truly knows themselves and, even more profoundly, knows God. This transformation doesn't go unnoticed. People see you now and recognize that there is something remarkably different about you. It's not just your appearance, it's your presence. You carry a calmness that remains unshaken even as the world around you swirls in chaos. There's a glow that radiates from within you, a softness that comes only from someone who has walked through life's fires and emerged purified, stronger, and filled with grace. Your energy has become magnetic, but not in the loud, attention-seeking way of the world. Instead, it is quiet, steady, and profoundly grounded in something eternal. It is the light of God shining through you, illuminating everything you touch. You once longed for others to understand you, to see the real you beneath the surface. Now, you no longer chase that need. You've realized that not everyone is meant to understand you, because not everyone is meant to walk the same path as you. And that's okay. You've found peace in your uniqueness, in the sacred truth of being set apart. The chosen ones, after all, are not here to conform to the world's mold. They are here to break it, to transform the world with the light that dwells within them. Yes, you are still different, but now you carry that difference with pride and honor. You understand that it is not a burden but a gift, a divine calling that sets you apart for a higher purpose. The journey to this place wasn't easy. The path was steep, and there were days when the weight of it all felt unbearable. There were nights when the anxiety threatened to consume you, when the tears wouldn't stop flowing, and doubt whispered cruel lies into your heart. But even then, God was with you. He saw your pain, your struggles, and your moments of despair. And through it all, He whispered to you, "Hold on, I am making something beautiful out of this pain." And He did. Now here you are, standing in the light of transformation. The heaviness you once carried has lifted, and in its place, there is a quiet strength, a confidence rooted not in what the world thinks of you, but in who God says you are. People around you notice this transformation. Some are drawn to your newfound peace and the glow that seems to radiate from your very soul. They see the change in you and find themselves inspired, curious about the source of your strength and joy. But not everyone responds with admiration. Some look at your light and feel threatened by it. Their envy or insecurities may lead them to try to diminish what you've worked so hard to cultivate, but they cannot touch what God has built within you. The strength you carry, the glow that surrounds you, comes from Him, and no amount of envy or malice can extinguish a light that is divine in origin. Your transformation is not just physical, it is spiritual, and it stands as a testament to God's power and love. As you stand in this new reality, you find yourself looking back. You see old photos, images you once avoided, pictures that once filled you with shame or regret. Now, you look at them differently. You see beauty in those faces, strength in those fragile bodies. The eyes of the child or young adult you used to be hold a kind of innocence wrapped in struggle. And now, instead of cringing or looking away, tears fill your eyes. Not tears of regret but of love. You wonder how you could have been so blind to the beauty that was always there, even in the confusion. Even in the moments when you felt completely lost. You see now how brave you were. You stood in the middle of a world that didn't understand you, a world that tried to tell you who to be, and yet you kept moving forward. You kept trying, and that is where the real beauty lived. Not in the perfection the world demanded, but in the quiet, unyielding strength that carried you through each day. Yes, you were young, fragile even, but there was a courage within you that defied the odds. That small, unassuming body carried the weight of fears, anxieties, and a longing that no one else could see. It carried you through sleepless nights, through moments when you thought you might break under the pressure. And yet, here you are. You didn't break, you rose, you grew, you found your way. We wore masks, not to deceive others, but to shield ourselves from the judgment we feared so deeply. At the time, it felt like the only way to survive. We thought the world could see right through us, that our flaws and insecurities were exposed for everyone to criticize. But what we didn't realize was that even then, God saw us. Truly saw us. He didn't see the brokenness we tried to hide or the imperfections we obsessed over. He saw the beauty, strength, and potential that we couldn't yet see in ourselves. Even in our most fragile moments, He stayed with us. He was guiding us, even when we didn't know how to follow Him, even when we didn't think we were worthy of His presence. Looking back now, with the wisdom that time and growth have given us, we see those younger versions of ourselves not with pity, but with pride. How could we not? They were doing the best they could what they had. They were building us, shaping us, and laying the foundation for the person we've become today. They fought battles we can barely remember. The sleepless nights filled with self-doubt, the relentless effort to fit into a world that seemed unwilling to make space for us. Yet they persevered. They endured so that we could stand here today, stronger, wiser, and more at peace. To those past selves we owe a debt of gratitude. They carried dreams too heavy for their shoulders but never let go of them. Those dreams were held tightly, protected and nurtured, waiting for the day when we would be strong enough to take them and bring them to life. Now, as we live in the light of their sacrifices and perseverance, we no longer need the approval of others. We have come to understand a truth so profound and freeing. We are already loved, deeply unconditionally, by the one who created us. And that love is enough. It always has been. Even now, as we embrace this strength and peace, we do not forget the younger versions of ourselves who got us here. They may have been filled with doubts and fears, but they were also filled with hope. They longed for the peace we now hold in our hearts. They prayed, often in ways we didn't even recognize as prayer, for the life we are living today. And God heard them, every tear, every whispered cry for help. He was there, even in moments when we felt abandoned. He was guiding us, weaving every hardship into the story of His plan. Looking back, we can see it now, how every misstep, every struggle, and every triumph was part of His divine design. As we move forward, we carry with us the dreams of those past selves. We carry the lessons they taught us, the resilience they built within us, and the love they gave us, even when we didn't know how to love ourselves. Most importantly, we carry the knowledge that God has been with us through it all. He saw the beauty in us when we couldn't. He saw the strength we didn't believe we had. And He never let us go. Today, we stand tall, not because we are perfect, but because we are loved. The glow we carry is not merely the result of our own efforts. It is the reflection of God's grace. He has refined us, shaped us, and filled us with a light that is eternal and unwavering. This light is not dependent on the opinions of others or the challenges we still face. It is rooted in Him, and because of that, it cannot be extinguished. We walk forward now with peace in our hearts, knowing that we are enough. We were always enough. And as we continue on this journey, we do so with love. Not only for the present, but for the past and the future as well. To those of you still in the midst of your battles, those who look in the mirror and struggle to see the beauty and strength staring back at you, take heart. You are far stronger than you realize, more beautiful than you can imagine, and deeply loved by the God who created you. One day, you will look back on these moments, just as we are now, and you will see the truth. You will see the courage that carried you through the darkness. You will recognize the beauty that was always there, hidden beneath the layers of doubt and fear. and you will feel pride, not in the superficial way the world celebrates, but in the quiet, enduring pride of knowing you are becoming exactly who God created you to be. And that, dear one, is something no one can ever take from you. So, as we close this chapter, let us walk together with faith, hope, and love. Let us continue to grow into the light God has placed within us and share that light with the world. If this message has touched your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to Power Within Awakening. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Together, let's spread the light of transformation and hope, reminding each other that we are never alone on this journey. You are loved, you are chosen, and your story is just beginning.